Do you hear me okay?
Yep, just fine.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm Anna Jikia. I'm an artist. I come from Georgia and now I live in Basel and I study here in an art school.
There you go.
I, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm doing my master's here. Yeah, it's really cool. Have you ever been in Switzerland?
I've
Or
been to
in
Basel. Yeah, I used to
You've
work.
been to Basel?
Yeah, it's
Great.
beautiful. It's wonderful.
Okay.
I
What?
I worked for a painter from Norway in New York City,
Okay.
and his gallery's work was in Art Basel, and so
Okay.
we went out for the big festival.
Yeah, I mean, I was not considering Switzerland ever to. I wanted to like study art, but Switzerland was like never a thing. But then once, like 2 years ago, I worked on some project in Georgia, which was done by a group of Swiss artists who are based in Basel. They have like a kind of like an off space here, and they came to Georgia and I worked with them, and then I kind of fell in love with all of them, and I just came to visit them, and even then I was not considering to study here or anything. But yeah, then I just visited the school just like that. I had the instant, I don't know, feeling that I had to be here.
Hmm.
And yeah, I love Basel. It's like my favorite place. And yeah, so it was yeah, I knew that I had to be here, so I tried, and it somehow worked. And yeah, I'm here now since September. Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, my favorite thing about Basel, I don't remember where it was, but the train tracks had grass in them.
grass.
It was like this electric tram, and
Hmm.
it was so clean that even like underneath the train, it was like grass. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. I think Basel is like quite special place. Like whenever I say this to people from Switzerland, they're like, whatever, no, like, but for me, there is something really special about like Basel specifically because I don't have that feeling in any other place in Switzerland, but there is something here that's yeah,
are you making paintings? I mean, I feel like
yeah.
you are.
No,
You're not
no,
making paintings.
not no. It's actually a very good question you asked because I don't paint. I never painted ever. I make them on Photoshop.
Sure.
Yeah, they're not painting at all, but they look because also maybe you saw that I printed out on a canvas, so sometimes it can kind of look like painting, but
Yeah.
it's yeah, they're made completely on Photoshop. But I mean, since I'm here and like I see a lot of paint, I kind of got interested about like trying to do something with painting or drawing, but I'm like very careful with it because I don't know, I have a bit of a problem when I have to like do something with my hands, like draw on an empty paper. That's kind of frustrating for me. I'd rather like very comfortable with like working with computer if it's like sound or whatever. I also don't feel so comfortable with like instruments. I studied classical piano for a very long time because my mother, she's a piano teacher,
Huh.
but it was like forced. When parents force their kids to take, it was that kind of thing, but for like 10 years. So I don't think I'm so good
But
anymore
you could
at the.
like sit down at a piano and play music.
Mm, yeah, I could, but it's like what they always told me. Like whenever you stop playing, like even if you miss, like my mother used to always say, even if you miss out one day, you lost something. As much as it was difficult, I think it also gave me like what I also say often. Like very early on, I was aware of like kind of effect that art can have on you. Like
Yeah.
because I was playing and you are like playing something that you really enjoy. Like you're really young, you don't know anything about anything, and then you're suddenly in a different state, like just I don't know, joy or pleasure, and that awareness that there is something that I can do that brings me to another like kind of altered like pleasure state, like that I was aware of it.
You've come to terms with it.
Yeah, I mean you have to, otherwise you're like really sad and miserable and kind of victim. But it's very like, you know, special thing to like be studying like classical music, especially like in Eastern Europe. It's like you're in a such a, and like after Soviet also, like because you know classical music also in Soviet had this meaning. And I started like I went to like a music school like 5 years after Soviet collapse, so you still kind of had this um, very Soviet system of education, and like the attitude was like very yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah,
Can I pause
okay.
for just one second? I just need to check it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, go
very.
ahead. Ask question. Ask question.
I thought she was sleeping. She's not sleeping.
Oh,
There she is.
he has a baby. Oh, so cute.
I'm curious about like food. You take really interesting pictures of like dessert and stuff.
Yes,
Like
yes,
what? Tell me about that.
yes. So, actually, when I was living in Georgia, like last couple of years, I have this group of Russian friends who moved to Georgia some years ago, and they wanted to open, because you know in Georgia we really don't have any kind of space where you, for example, like an art space or music space, like this kind of, yeah, like a space where somebody, if you want to make a concert or if you whatever you want to do, you can make. And then we also had like a small bar, and then we also had like a small kitchen. Like it was by accident, because I sometimes would cook for them or make a cake or something, and they thought, okay, you should be the one in charge of the kitchen. But of course I had like zero experience, so we just like, I was like, okay, let's do it. So I mean food is like a really really big topic, or like very important thing in my life. So it's like my dream to have this kind of place where it's like not stressful kitchen, and where you're like just enjoying cooking. And so yeah, I was thinking a lot that I wanted to try to organize more like chill kitchen. And then uh, they hired another guy who was like completely on the same page with me, and then we organized this kind of, we call ourselves like a collective, and we call ourselves free kitchen. Sometimes we don't have anything, sometimes you have to wait, and for me that was all okay. Like it's like, because I wanted to feel like a normal situation, I didn't want it to feel like a restaurant or anything.
Right.
And at some point they got a bit frustrated. They were like, we need the menu, we need the menu. And I tried to give them this kind of menu and cook every day, and it was really really difficult. And they kind of got tired of me, of my experiment. So at some point, and I had to leave anyway, so I kind of went out of the project. But then also COVID happened. For me this space was amazing also because of music, because they were quite open also to kind of events that they organized. And in Georgia we really don't have any space where you get to listen to like experimental music or any other kind of music that is not techno. Because I know, maybe you know that, maybe you heard that Georgia is quite big on techno.
I didn't know specifically. I assume that
Yeah,
most of Eastern Europe is kind of into techno, but
yeah,
I didn't know specifically. You know, when I
yeah.
think of Georgia, I think of like super old folk music with like the polyharmonies. Like that's what I know about Georgia.
Yeah, and from that to techno, like that's like very big jump. Like one club opened, and then another club, and then next thing you know, whole country was like clubbing. Doesn't matter how old, how young, like everyone completely obsessed with techno. Everybody is a DJ. Suddenly we are like New Berlin or whatever. It was a really crazy, crazy.
People
Yeah,
come to Georgia for the scene.
for sure, 100%. Yeah, like for me like club space is like such an interesting space, and there's like so much you could do. And it's like and they have all this like great equipment, and I don't know, I always felt like, hey, like why don't they organize like something like some other type of music event than just techno, and
It seems like it's about making money at a certain point. I mean, if people,
yeah,
I mean,
yes, I mean, I think money was an aspect for them, but also this club is quite special in a way because the owners of this club, they also have some kind of like a kind of organization where they're really engaged with like a different kind of like a social and political topics in Georgia, like drug legalization and gay rights and so on. So they're quite like
there's some progressive element to it. It's not just like
it is, and it is to a point where they really, for example, we had like Georgia was one of the first, if not the first, like Eastern European country where you're actually allowed to smoke weed. You are allowed to have certain amount of weed, and this was really thanks to this people from the club because they really organized like protests and they really like organized it to happen. So there is certain things that I really cannot take away from them. So for sure they have some,
sure that makes sense.
yeah,
That's really interesting.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But at the same time, then they are like when it comes to music, like really musically for me it was very like horrible. Like they had really bad lineups, and they were just like taking the same kind of path what they saw, like very kind okay, and like inviting kind of cool artists, but I didn't felt that that was like genuine and that's like what they really want to do. But they're just like, oh, okay, this artist is cool, so we just invite him. Like they invited once like Eve Tomorrow, what, you know. Yeah. Sorry. Her jaw dropped. Yeah, he played in Georgia. Anyways, he's I don't know, do you, maybe you know this label Pan, Pan.
oh
It's
yeah,
like,
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
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 So he was part of this like where, or I don't know if it was because anyways, he became very trendy, like very popular, and suddenly everybody knew about him. And then of course they invite him there, and that's like they feel like super cool about themselves. I was maybe a bit aggressive, and it's like kind of hard also in Georgia because it's very small scene. And my brother actually, he's a techno DJ and he's like a resident in this club, so they were kind of like, because I was very open about it, like, hey, I don't agree with these things, like I think you should be, I think they have kind of love and hate attitude towards me, I don't know. I think the way I started making things, like really unconsciously, I was not thinking about like doing anything against it, but it came for sure out of like some kind of lag that I had when I was in Georgia, like for a really long time. Like musically, I felt very alone, and I didn't had at all anyone with who I could, you know, share what I like or what I felt, or it was very strange time. But then it changed a bit, but it's still quite, I don't know, I always say like I just know like two people with I have these two friends in Georgia with who I do blue yogurt.
I was just gonna say, is that's that?
Yeah, that's that. They, yeah, it was like a miracle really, the fact that I met these two guys and we just like, yeah. And the very funny thing is that I met one of them when he was 14. He was quite young, and but already super into everything and very curious. And when we started blue yogurt, actually we were not that friends at all. We just knew each other and we just like wanted to do something, so we started blue yogurt, and then we became super close friends. So I'm, yeah, very proud of this project. It's like my favorite thing that I do. Yeah.
Did you guys do physicals with the project, or was it like digital releases and shows and stuff?
We release everything online, even though we had some periods like, oh, maybe we should do like a physical release. But and then we tried a couple of times to do kind of like a performance, and yeah, we were just playing together, and like we asked some friends to do like some kind of stage design and someone making a video and like all sorts of things. Like we did, we tried, but it wasn't so well received. Like, yeah, people were very like angry about us, so we were like, okay, we might just not do it again. But I mean, yeah,
We're trying to make something that didn't necessarily fit into any of like the slots.
yeah,
And
yeah.
when you do that, people are confused. They're like, they don't know where to put it.
Mm-hmm. I think for me it's no problem. I even kind of I enjoy when there is this kind of reaction. Like it has to happen. I mean, if we want at some point like people to, how to say, have acceptance, like it has, somebody has to do it, and somebody has to like kind of throw themselves into the situations. And I think slowly it, like blue yogurt for me now is like, um first of all, I should say that I feel like blue yogurt is much more appreciated like outside Georgia than in Georgia. Like very few people know about us in Georgia, but still I feel like with years that a bit more interest, a bit more kind of, oh, okay, like what are they doing? Because like then we had like there is this really really cool Russian label, Gostsvuk, and one the founders of this label, he has like a NTS like a show on NTS, and then he was like, I don't know, always such a big supporter for of us, and always like super encouraging. And then he asked us to do this mix, and then when we did the mix, everybody in Georgia was like, oh, okay, they're on NTS now, okay, it matters. So it's very funny. Like you really need to approach Georgian audience from like that way that they can kind of relate to like NTS.
This, I mean, it does feel like they need things to be approved by like the global, or at least like the
For
European,
sure.
in order for them to like take a chance on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Which is okay, whatever. It's fine.
Well, living in New York is different because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's where people, honestly, it's like where folks like yourself go. You're like, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to compromise. But people like that tend to go to New York. And you're
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
in competition with each other in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's very different.
Mm.
It's a very different feel. I didn't particularly like it. I was living in New York and I was painting, and that's where I started my little mini record label
Mm-hmm.
for the same, very similar reasons. I was like, nobody's doing what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's making stuff, and it was before the pandemic, and it was when like physical cassette tapes were kind of a thing in like the early 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
It was really exciting to just do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And not to like
Yeah.
wait for anybody else to like hand me an opportunity or whatever. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't even imagine how it feels to be in New York. For me, it's like another planet. I don't know.
it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, you know,
I mean, Berlin is like for me like the closest thing that I can kind of compare, because it's also quite. There is all the time something happening there, and for me also it was quite. Uh, it wasn't like, how to say. For me, it wasn't a good argument that, oh, there are so many things happening. It was more like, no, it's blocking me when there is like so many things happening, and I don't necessarily feel like so uh, keen to like be part of like
no, yeah.
yeah,
I find it very
yeah,
spiritually like
mm,
devastating place to be.
yeah, for sure, yeah, it is.
Um, it was very difficult to sort of fail over and over again.
Mhm,
So, like the scene, like painting scene that I was interested in, it just seemed it was just so empty. It's so
mhm,
it might have been
mhm,
time. It was like a different, like it was like 10 years ago, but
mhm,
people were so angry and there's just so much emptiness and so like everything felt like fake, like frivolous.
mhm, mhm,
I think the New York culture shifted after like the Black Lives Matter movement of like 2013, 2012, and then obviously recently people are
mhm,
communities like justice oriented, and the work reflects that. But back then, it was not at all.
Okay.
But it was very spiritually sad. I had to leave.
That's why you decided to leave. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's good to leave it behind sometimes. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of makes me want to ask you about your mixes, which is how I sort of discovered your whatever the algorithm on SoundCloud
That's
delivered.
how. Yeah. It was just like a suggestion.
I think so. Maybe it was
Mm.
a connection between somebody that I follow, you follow. Maybe it was like Linda Spute or something. I don't know.
Mm. Mm.
But
Mm.
I just, it's really, it's making sense to me, like how you're talking about the scene in Georgia and how you wanted to like make what you wanted to make. Because when I heard it, my ears just like, I was like, wow, never,
Oh, thank you.
I just have never heard anything like that before. And I've been
Mm.
making mixes and getting into electronic music for like I guess like a couple of years, 5, 6 years.
Mm. Mm.
Just like, damn, this is
Mm.
this is really special.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah.
So I'm happy to support you however I can. Obviously, I don't have a million followers on Instagram.
No, no, no. That's no worries. No, actually, I have to tell you, I was very happy when um, you approached me because, I mean, of course, I maybe shouldn't say this, but oftentimes there is like quite weird, uh, like people. But I guess that happens to everybody whenever you're kind of doing something on SoundCloud, you will get all sorts of people. It's not to say like someone. I just feel like oftentimes people approach me where I don't really see what I could do with them or for them, and it's like really off, and I don't even understand why they approach me. And it's actually fun because you kind of start. It really means that then, of course, I don't wish that my what I make is only kind of for a certain kind of people. Like I hope that it's for everybody, but also still, it's sometimes like I find it very funny the kind of people that approach me, but I was very happy when you approached me because I really felt that it was like I had the feeling for what you do also, and that doesn't happen so often. It's okay. I don't complain about it, but yeah, that's just to say that. Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's exciting. I mean,
yeah,
it kind of means that you need to trust your instincts.
yeah. Exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it is hard. I had gotten out of like making things, or, like being in a creative world for a long time after I left New York, and
Mhm.
it is sometimes depressing. People are so like they're so selfish and they're so transparent. They just want
Mhm.
from you. All of the releases that I did were like super special to me.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
wanted them to be like these like little shadow boxes, these like little
Mhm.
moments. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and when people didn't get that, it was kind of weird and depressing. But
Yeah. And I'm all for like it's also something I think a lot recently because um I don't know, somehow it happens, and I didn't thought about it when I started like putting out music on SoundCloud that I would get like that people just ask you, and some, of course, like oftentimes it's like something I also want to work with these people. And then recently I noticed that now I have like kind of this pile of requests for like, oh, can you make me a track, or can you make me a mix? And then I realized that I'm really not that, because some people like for example, like Levan, my friend from Blue Yogurt, he can make like I don't know, 10 tracks a day, 20 mixes a month. Like he has this speed and he can really like deliver. But for me, I can never do like oh just make a track. Like this is like oh make a mix. Like it really takes like time, and I have to like I don't know somehow come to this point, and it's very hard to explain this to everybody that oh I'm like this uh, because it's also kind of like a cliche like this create I need to be I don't want to seem like that, but it's really true that it's can be very I can't deliver it like all the time because I really or I can, but then it wouldn't be really what I like sincere. And you know, like really these mixes that I make or tracks that I make, I think they end up feeling the way they feel because it's really these special moments that it you can't make that, it just happens. Like even I don't think that I make that, it's just like I organize the situation and it happens by itself, but I can't force it. And uh, it really really needs time because of that. Like I'm sometimes sorry, but because I'm always, you know, late for things and like but it if yeah, I don't know, I cannot do it otherwise, like yeah.
That's partly. I mean, I really hear that in your
Mm-hmm.
in the. I was thinking of like collages in a way, like,
Mm-hmm.
but like I hear that in. That's why I thought you were a painter because
Mm-hmm.
you have a very painterly quality. But it
Mm-hmm.
makes more sense like Photoshop and stuff like collages. Not wanting to
Yes.
do something from nothing, but like using stuff and like
Yes.
overlaying it and then letting the elements play with each other.
Yes.
When did you start using like movie trailers? And like, you know what? And like, when did you start using so much like conversation or like voice stuff? You're like,
Yeah.
that was that from the very beginning or?
Um, that's actually a really nice question because I've been waiting for that question for a really long time, because I think no one ever asked me about movie trailers and I keep on like putting them. I don't remember. I think in the beginning, yeah, I really can't tell you how I ended up working like this in like college manner. I never thought about it. I just remember like how I first started working with Ableton, that um it was like a period when there was this Pharrell song Happy, that you know, the song that was like everywhere all the time. Like it was really, there was a point where I liked it, but then there was a point where I really started hating it, and I decided to make like a really uh, like impossible to hear kind of remix of this track, and that was my very first like experiment in Ableton. I directly started very soon after that, like making this like collage. Um, Started to notice this kind of moments, which is like another magic thing that I cannot make it happen. Like I would be listening to some music and like accidentally putting some YouTube audio, and then I'm suddenly like, wow, this really works together, and just uh, like that. Then I realized, okay, I have to like let all sorts of audios uh, kind of consider that anything at all, any kind of audio could be material that I end up using. So I don't have like any limit or any like moral boundary to like not use someone something. Like I just really use everything that I feel like could say something. And then I think movie trailers was also just and I think, yeah, I was thinking recently, like, you know, when you just, I have this habit where I just listen to movie trailers. Like there are certain trailers which I really uh listen to it like music, and when you listen to movie trailer, it's like all sorts of different sounds. Like there can be music and there can be talking and there can be like, you know, surrounding sounds, like. And I feel like that's also kind of what I'm trying to do with my collages, like to kind of layer it with many different textures of like situations, or I don't know how to explain, like that there is a lot happening. And I think yeah, that
There's like a big emotional intensity to trailers too. Like,
exactly,
so
yeah,
it's not just like, layering like,
yeah,
nature sounds or like whatever. This is like
yeah,
intense like human drama. I mean, that's
yeah,
a big part of the feeling that you're going for. Like with the album that you made like a while
mm-hmm,
ago, it was sort of about your own drama, but like,
mm-hmm,
so it's not. It makes sense because trailers are like really like they're really compacted.
exactly, yeah, that's what I really like. It's really, there is some kind of pleasure in that for me, this like compacted I think I'm not sure. I should remember, but I used their track in your in the mix that I did for you. It's like this duo. They did this album, Early Contacts. Maybe you know. Was
Mm-mm.
this album is like really for me like kind of was revolutionary. I mean, I discovered it recently, but like some years ago. But it really kind of spoke out these things that I'm like trying to say about my work, and I don't manage, and really. Um, it's not like the same kind of they're not collaging or anything, but they really use um, like sounds in a way how I'm trying to say I'm using, or I don't know, there is some similarity that I really that they also have no boundaries in a way. um
Something about the way that things are layered and the pacing of it when you do it. I just like am into it. It's like a movie.
mm, mm,
Really weird.
yeah,
I don't know how to put
yeah,
it into words, but it's just seems fun.
yeah, yeah, I know, but I understand. It's I'm very happy that uh, yeah, you have some feeling for it.
I
But
guess the equivalent would be like kind of like burial, which is
yes,
like
yeah, yeah, I'm very happy if it works for someone, because sometimes I'm a bit worried that I do something too weird and it's like not too kind of pretentious or difficult people to relate, because they're like, what are you doing, like this is not even music, like are you even making music, what is this? And
though because there's often like these like really fun like dance songs that are in them.
yeah, yeah, so yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
And then there's this ironically like there's just really heavy beats that are usually these light moments that are
yes.
kind of breathe and like there's like rhythm and you kind of like get into it and then they shatter and they break apart.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, I think this contrast is super important also for me, because I actually love like dance music and I DJ, and for me that's also like something really close to my heart, so I always want it to be there. But uh I don't know, that's like my argument also with like Georgian clubs. Like I kind of don't get this idea, for example, like when you listen to like some DJ mixes, like very important DJs, and it's always like in a certain like mood, and it's almost sometimes it even sounds like for 50 minutes you're hearing the same track, or it's like very well uh, put together. Why is it that it's so important to um, get it right in, or what does it even mean? I don't know, when you DJ. And also I think like, we have the DJing has been around for so long. Like I don't know why people haven't been so much more experimental with it. And I think what I should say when, with my tracks and with my mixes, I'm really inspired with like the DJing experience that I had or that I've seen. It's for me something very that's where I think it all came out from. Like um, when I tried to DJ, and I had this kind of like, uh, why can't I just like play some, I don't know, noise track and then dance track and then ambient and then like sound of rain or whatever. For me, it's really the only thing I can do. I can never, you know, play a super clean, and also it's I don't want to hear these kind of things. Like for me the most fun, I don't know, DJ sets are when you really don't know what's the next thing gonna be.
originally, of course, like mixes like if you like listen to the super old mixes from like clubs in Chicago in like 1979, it's just about keeping the beat so people can dance while they're on speed. And
Yeah, yeah.
like it is
Mm-hmm.
about dancing, but and it took me like a serious like life transition to like start listening to pop music. I was like
Mm-hmm.
so dead against it, and then
Mm-hmm.
started listening to like Ludacris.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember I got into hip hop and then I got into pop music, and then I was just like listening to like straight up pop music. Like I think it's another
Mm-hmm.
reason I like the mixes because like all of a sudden there's just like Justin Bieber and it's really fun. But I always liked it for the mood. There was something like secretly depressing pop music
Mm-hmm.
that was like underneath it, which for me it made sense that the transition between like pop and then like dance or like EDM
Mm-hmm.
and then noise music. There's like there's a back door that connects them.
Absolutely, yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, that's what it was all about, and
Mm-hmm.
how I got
Mm-hmm.
hooked. I,
Yeah, but also you do see that like pop music or like mainstream pop music, it kind of, I don't know, I'm like all the time on SoundCloud and I listen to so many things, and I really see that it's like maybe it's even like a past thing now, but that it comes back and like people are really trying to like work with it. That's the feeling that I have, work with that material and like kind of give it a new life. And I think that's super great because mm, rethinking and reimagining, and I think now it's like much more like, again, like for example, like what okay Lou does, like she's a great example of like how I think takes it, like this pop culture and like pop music also like as a, like a material that she like comes out of. I also wouldn't say that her music is not so much for me like poppy, but I can really feel um that, yeah.
it's like it has a like Travis Scott vocals, and it has
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
those kinds of like you have to have some kind of hip hop like drums.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, of course.
the same language, but it's like the piano pieces, like the music is so classical, so baroque
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it, I don't know. That's another
yeah.
thing. I didn't know that you played the piano. I don't know if that's like a connection with her as well.
Actually, very first like connection that I had with her. I mean, first I found her, and I like the moment I found her, sometimes you just know like that's like the artist that's gonna be around you for the rest of your life, because I really felt I could relate to her in some very deep level. And then it was like a really nice thing because I did my very, very first release on this label, which label has like a very long name that I don't even remember now, but it was like 5 years ago or something like that. And funny thing was that she also did her first release on this label, and I was like super like that's weird, like how. And then I was just like her fan and like really, really into what she was doing. And then one day she just writes me on SoundCloud and she's like, "Oh, like, can you send me?" Like, I had like, I don't know, 20 likes from her and like this message, like, "Oh, can you send me your tracks?" And it was really like, I kind of knew this was gonna happen because I really felt that there is something uh, she could relate to what I make in a way. I somewhere I think I had this feeling, and then I wasn't so shocked when I saw her message in a way. And then yeah, since then it's just like she's been um, I think she really digs what I do, and that's like really nice because I dig so much what she does, and she's, yeah, really, really great. Yeah, that's the joke that we have with my two friends from Blue Yogurt. That, yeah, okay, Lou made me a star because like whenever she like posts something, or and then I also get like so many people suddenly. Yeah, that's very funny actually with internet and Instagram, and yeah,
It's a lot of games to
yeah.
play. You can get sucked into it. Be careful so you don't like
You have,
throw your
yes,
whole heart into it. It's scary.
yeah, for sure you have to be very, 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 very careful. Yeah, I don't know. Somehow I don't pay so much attention to it. I mean, it's great when it happens like that, but it's like it's really on the background. Like I really, when I started doing it, or when I even started putting out music, I never was thinking about anything. It was just like what I felt I had to do, and I still have that feeling that, oh, it's just something I have to do, and whatever comes with it, it's cool. But I don't expect it to be anything big, or I don't care if it is or if it is not. Like it's always kind of stayed on this level, and I hope it always does. I think it will always be like that. But it's just something I like to do, and that's it. Yeah, but interesting that I talk about this because recently, like some uh, Polish girl, she was doing like a kind of articles about like Georgian female DJs, whatever, and some girl approached me and she kept like asking questions like, yeah, like how do you do it? Like, isn't it like so hard? Like being Georgian, like uh, being a girl like producer or whatever in Georgia, like isn't it so difficult? And I understand where she comes from. Like that's um, and I understand why she thinks it's very difficult. But I just like she kept asking questions from this angle, and I don't know. At the end, I felt I kept like kind of trying to say that um, like never ever in my life I was conscious about this or thought about this. Yeah, there is of course obstacles when you're a girl, and there is of course different expectations for you, especially in countries like Georgia that really believe that when you have some kind of like a core like believe and like you believe in what you do, then it's these things don't really affect you so much. Of course in the moment I can get angry, and I had these situations where like somebody approached me to play somewhere and I know that they're just asking me because I'm a girl, and it's like quite annoying. But I kind of choose to, okay, I can be annoyed in the moment and I can say like that's like stupid, but I don't put so much. But then there are these girls who are like getting so angry about it that like, you know, you are almost like blocked in your work then because you're putting so much energy into like, yeah, why is this happening, why, and I'm more like, yeah, it is happening, but the only way to fight it is just by just do what you want to do and what you have to do. That's the attitude there.
You're kind of
Yeah.
saying like you're not letting the situation turn you into a victim.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I also believe that that's like actually the way to fight, like rather than sitting and complaining and crying about it. So, but yeah, it's just my way to fight against those things. But funny enough, like there were people like in Georgia for who, just because I'm a girl, it kind of becomes the same thing. Like,
No matter
the,
what, like if you post
yeah,
like if the cover of your mix is a selfie.
yeah, and I think to a point where I was sure, like sometimes when people would approach me, that they have no idea what kind of music I would play. But they still ask because I'm a girl, and like, um, yeah, and yeah, that sucks. But I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. I somehow don't want to spend so much energy on that. Like, of course, I'm thinking about it. Like, of course, and I'm really careful talking about it because I will get in a lot of trouble because sometimes people just don't get what I mean. That it sounds so easy, like just do your thing and everything will be fine. But for me, it's
No,
as simple as that. Yeah,
I understand what you're saying, and I think
yeah,
what I'm hearing you say is that the way that you're approaching patriarchy is not engaging even in those
yeah,
like constructs, but just being like, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. And I'm going to
yeah.
completely ignore these barriers. And when I have to like push past them, I will. But I
Hmm.
don't. Whatever. I'm just going to keep doing exactly what I do.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really the way, at least for me. And I think, yeah, if you really want to deal with this problem, you also have to put effort in thinking like, okay, what should we do differently then if we are here? And I think for me at least there is like too much crying, that's the fact, and not enough like, yeah,
Just
nothing.
yeah, there's a defiance then where you're saying your work like being good and being true to yourself is a kind of defiance.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yeah,
Um, I think I saw a post about like these little shoes or socks or something.
Yeah, she's really into like making things. Like my mom, she's like quite special person and very weird, and I always say she's like my favorite artist because she's not an artist or don't think about herself like that, but she always makes stuff like really strange, ugly, cute things. So yeah, she's just like a very weird uh, persona. And like the most weird thing for me is about her is that like the older she gets, like she's much more accepting about things. So I think the time when I decided to like really decided to become an artist and do that, she was already like, yeah, okay, you can you can do whatever you want. And I saw some really interesting documentary about like an outsider art, or what they call like
Hmm?
art group. There was some, so there is some clinic in Austria for like people who have like mental health issues, and like they work with people who like are interested to make art. And then this clinic has like kind of like a gallery, and then galleries, and then he or she like sells these works. And there was like this kind of comment in the middle of the movie that yeah, the art school kind of ruins you in a way, which is, it's kind of like true also, because it can take away a lot, but it can also give you a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
depends. Yeah,
I had that struggle as well. The painters that I really liked in school were not trained painters.
exactly.
You can't, you know, that's the struggle. You can't really go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go forward, and you can like try to understand what it is about outsider art or work made by untrained artists that's so special. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that you do a good job in your mixes at least. I mean, my final question I'll get to in a second, but um, you can't go backwards. You can't like pretend that you don't know what you know and become an outsider artist. It's just not
Yeah,
but that doesn't
yeah.
mean you can't study or read about and like try to figure out what it is. So what is so beautiful about artwork that never meant to be artwork?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of part of it. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
or these whatever, whether it's music or works on paper, it's just these human expressions that there's not a lot of ego. They're just very just straightforward.
I also had this moment. Oh, like, oh, now I'm too involved. Yeah, to like be making that kind of like. But then at the same time, no, I think it's not the way to think about it, because there is also a reason and point in what you make. And I think the important thing is to not get too much into it. Like you always have to have some kind of distance, and
Mm.
not let it kind of exploit you. And I think oftentimes maybe it happens to people that they um, uh, like try too much to maybe meet the expectations, or I don't know whatever is happening there. But
Process. It
yeah,
seems to really like the process is kind of well, it's not true, but the process is part of the fun, it's part of the point of being like an alchemist, of like taking
yes, yes,
and like letting the
yeah.
elements like do the work for you. I get that.
Yeah, I think for me that's just like, not only it's just like how I live like my life also, like it's really can be applied to everything that I do, like collecting and collaging and layering. And yeah, and it's something I really believe in it, and I really see uh, a lot of things in it. And yeah, and I also feel like um, yeah, very big potential, not only from me, but that this could be explored even more. Um, this way of working. And yeah, it's yeah, in some ways, like I didn't plan it that way. Like I told you, like I was never like conscious about how I decided to work with collages, but then it ended up like being kind of statement, because I have like this also thinking about like the copyright and all this like
You ever like had people get You're like, please take this down. Like, you don't have the rights to this, or
Yeah, I had like once happening that it was super like it was very strange because it was like I did like an EP on and I did one track and I used a sample from this artist and at the time she was I don't know not or maybe she was already kind of getting big. I think her name is Jeline or something. She made like really nice like beats in her track and I just sampled and then a guy who represented her label wrote to the guy who represented my label that yeah she thought it was funny track but please remove it because she puts a lot of work in it and she doesn't want it to be presented in this way and I think I'm constantly on the every time I upload something I'm kind of in danger of this kind of
Mhm.
but it's also something I guess I want to like trigger and I want to start that discussion that um yeah, it's a very big topic for me like how to say yeah I want to open this discussion like to what extent artist is really the owner of their work. It's really a question like open thing for me to maybe maybe you are but maybe you are not maybe it's really sad when you like make something and you just kind of seal it and it's like there and no one can touch it unless you allow it like I think for me personally it seems like kind of waste
Well, thank you for talking for so long. This is so interesting. It's so
thank you for bearing with me with a baby.
I really didn't think that you could ever sleep, but you did.
Very sweet.
Um,
Yeah. Very nice.
well, thank you again, and I guess
You're
we'll be
welcome.
in touch.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Okay.